Hello, everybody. Adam Parks here with another episode of Receivables Roundtable. Today, I'm here with my good friends, Mr. Mark Naiman and Mr. Bharath Ramachandra, here to talk to you about the TransUnion Debt Collection Trends and Insights Report for 2024, the survey and report that we've partnered with TransUnion to produce this year. We're very excited to work on that. And before we jump into it, I wanted to have a couple of quick introductions here, starting with Mr. Mark Naiman, who requires no introduction, the host of CRS and DCS, past president of RMAI, the survey course instructor for the RMAI certification program. And I guess we could just list off titles as if this was Game of Thrones, but I'm going to skip ahead.
Too much, Adam, too much. Thank you. Thank you.
We'll skip ahead to Mr. Bharath Ramachandra, my business partner for many years now, one of my very good friends all the way back since college. Some of you may have met him at CRS at DCS over the last year. But Bharath, for anybody who hasn't been as lucky as me to become your friend through the years, could you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and how you got to the seat that you're in today?
Hello, everybody. Bharath Ramachandra, currently serving as CTO of Branding Art. I've known Adam since for the last, I think it's been 24 years, Adam. So we met in college, and since the first time that we met, I think we just talked tech, and then we have started to doing so many projects. Like the last gig was Compliant, where we sold that company, and now I've been working full time with Branding Art, and it's been a great experience, and we've been developing a lot of technology projects, especially with AI and ML, and I'm looking forward to more involvement in other projects here.
Well, I think it ties really well into the discussion that we're having today, talking about this survey and report. So, for those of you that have not seen the press release yet, I highly suggest that you read that. We'll link that in the video description below. But this report for us, I think, was really important. I think there's been a lack of data across the receivables management industry for some time, and it makes it a little bit more difficult for organizations to navigate because we're all restricted down to our own vision or our own organization, our own experiences. And without that ability to kind of benchmark and better understand the broader data sets available or what trends are starting to happen across the industry outside of your own organization, this report, at least for me in 2023, served as that North Star in terms of what data was available in the industry. So I've been very excited to get involved in this project. Mark, how about you? What kind of drove you towards working on a project like this? Or maybe first we should start by stating what our full project is.
That's not a bad call, right? So let's start with the basics. For those that haven't read the press release, the aggregation of data throughout the collections industry has been challenging. I think that for those that are parts of associations, I think all of the associations do a pretty good job of queuing their member base. But I think it's been challenging, especially in my experience in this space, to find something that kind of bridges the gap between everything. I feel very lucky that, you asked, the question you asked me was, why did I get involved? Well, for those that don't know, they know I'm a huge data nerd. And I very much appreciate the fact that a company like TransUnion, this is a global insights company. We appreciate the fact that TransUnion is a massive company, and collections is one small piece of a much larger machine. And so last year we had the opportunity to kind of review the what was called the Datos report. It was a third-party collection report, and it was an aggregation of about 200 different companies within the space that pulled together a very large kind of general questionnaire that talked about everything from liquidation rates, not specific numbers, mind you, but more of a, trending. Are things going up? Are things going down? What are you seeing in the space? And then by taking this anonymized data and putting it together, oftentimes you're able to find these, call it industry-specific trends that are rather difficult to align with. In a rare opportunity that we go to a trade show where we have the opportunity to sit down with our peers, and that's if you're a bank, if you're a credit union, if you're a law firm, if you're a debt buyer, if you're a collection agency, you have very few opportunities to really sit down with your peers and have that conversation about how are things going? How's AI? How are you using this? How are, what new things are you seeing? And so what I see, and one of the biggest benefits of this report is that we're able to kind of aggregate this information industry wide and put it together into smaller bite-sized things that definitely identify very interesting trends, be it in technology, be it in data aggregation, be it in collections, be it in defaults, and provide that back to an industry that has had to find that information in a lot of other sources. Again, as TransUnion is a global insights company, allowing us to partner and create this report, I think will provide an even greater level of specification than years prior.
Well, I think we're in a unique position to engage more groups to participate in this process. And the more groups that we have participate in the process, ultimately, the better the data and the better our analysis of that data and the trends on the backside of that becomes. I saw some very interesting things, and I was very excited when we did, and I'll link below the session that we did about the 2023 report, where it was Mark Naiman and Manny Plasencia that came together and started having the discussion around the data itself. But we saw some really interesting trends, right? Like we talk about AI, and AI is like one of the biggest hot button issues around the industry, but seeing how many companies are actually engaged with AI versus those that are trying to engage or have it on their roadmaps, and just trying to understand the general directions that the industry is taking, not just from a financial performance perspective, but from an operational perspective and an understanding of how we're actually getting from point A to point B. And I think that that's really going to come together quite nicely as we pull all of this data together and start to run through the analysis. Now, Bharath, from your perspective, the technology of actually going through the process of collecting and analyzing this information has required us to build some tools, right, that enable us to kind of go through this process. You want to talk a little bit about what people should expect as they participate in the survey process?
Yeah. So from the survey point of view, for the person actually taking the survey, it's going to look like any other survey, right? So we have both qualitative and quantitative questions. But what's more interesting is, as Mark said, right, we're trying to see the trend in this particular industry. So we have more qualitative kind of questions, which basically answers why are they doing something? Like, for example, you brought the example of ML, right? Why are they doing ML, and in what areas are they trying to do ML? And then we also have like quantitative questions in there, which says, to what extent are they doing? I think this will really set, for give an understanding to all of us as to how the industry is moving, because as Mark said, it's very difficult to basically get this information. You won't be able to gather this anywhere, like how the industry is moving, right? So in terms of that, the survey itself is pretty generic, but behind the scenes, what we're doing is we're doing a lot of tabulation of the data, and there's a lot of hierarchical data in the sense that, a particular response might drive another question, which will drive another question, right? So we have to aggregate these kind of questions. We also have to provide some kind of weighted averages between these things and combine this into one answer, taking in the responses from multiple different questions. So we have built those kind of rules. We have set the skip logics, the rules, and also like there are many option oriented questions where answering a particular option will drive you to something else. So the survey is pretty massive in the sense that from the back end perspective, it's going to give you a clear picture. And again, but the key here is that we need a lot of people taking the survey. Only the sample size has to be huge so that we can really come up with a definite answer given those tools that we have built.
And I know that has been the challenge that we've faced as industry organizations in the past, the associations and others, as we've started to collect that information. It's always focused on the various disciplines, right? Like each one of the associations is focused on a discipline of the overall industry. And then trying to pull all of this information together and kind of go through that aggregation process. Mark, what would you say to those that are hesitant to participate in the survey process?
I get it. As a former and still, right, you're not paranoid if you know they're coming after you, Adam. Look, I will tell you this, and for anyone that wants to look at the logic, we truly anonymize this information on the back end. We don't benefit from knowing who responded what. While we certainly know who issued a response the responses are not tagged to the initial. And so I think that there's an immediate hesitation of like, well, who's going to have this information? Two things I want to say to that. A, there's nothing that's going to be asked in this questionnaire truly that's going to be like, how much did you liquidate the last portfolio you bought for? That's not what we're talking about here. What we're really talking about, we're asking a bank, like, what's your average collection rate on accounts? That's not what we're trying to do here. Again, a lot of these questions are trend-based questions. Did you see a change to this vertical of business over the last year? Positive change, negative change. Next question. And each of, as Bharath said, each of these logic questions are driven by this kind of large tapestry of logic that Bharath created on the back end in order to drive true responses. You don't need to ask somebody questions about student loans if they've never touched a student loan. You don't need to ask people questions about auto or have NA responses if they've never touched auto. But by creating this, and to the second point of, where do I think that there's a tremendous benefit is that I think people out there, once they realize that they're able to get a much higher level perspective in a series of graphs that specifically identify, look, these are what the law firms are seeing challenges in, or the comparative difference between law firms, agencies, and buyers, because there are differences and there are different compliance focuses or different new technological focuses, or even with the ability, another one that always comes to mind is the ability to outsource not accounts themselves, but labor, BPO services and things like that I think have changed over time. And like I said, unlike the rare opportunities we get to sit down in a room with our peers or business peers and have that conversation, I think that those that participate in this report, and again, this is not the first year, this is a multi-year report, and hopefully next year those questions continue to evolve. But I urge those to really, that are hesitant, take a look at the questionnaire, and I think you'll get a better understanding of what the accomplishment is, what we're trying to accomplish, and take a look at last year's report, because I think that really gives a good idea of what a baseline is. But like Adam said before, I think that with our combined powers together, I think we'll be able to reach a larger segment of cross-association people that will truly understand that this is a tremendous opportunity. We're lucky to have TransUnion that's willing to kind of step up and say, hey guys, let's put this information together, and it benefits them, it benefits their clients, and certainly benefits anyone that responds to the report.
I think it's a worthwhile 10 minutes. The best way I can put it, right? For someone who's running an organization in the space and wants to have a better understanding of what is going on outside of their organization, I think the participation is key. I think we've also found ourselves in a unique position here because we're no longer part of the debt buying operations themselves, right? So we're no longer part of the, I'm going to say that we're not part of the industry because we clearly are, but we're not part of the day-to-day operations at this point. And so it creates that layer of separation. But I think we've done a great job of anonymizing that data once it's been collected, so that we can analyze these things in a raw data format. I mean, basically what we've done is taken 3 data nerds, throw a whole bunch of data at them together, and with an understanding of what the receivables management industry is, a long 20+ year historical context of what has happened through the many cycles of this industry, and allowing us to look at all of that data, drive some insights, and then provide those insights across the industry through the report, through discussions at the TU Summit and other conferences throughout the year. Because this, for me, I think this data set is one of the few ways that we can accurately drive and fuel discussion across the industry. By having that kind of data set behind these discussions, I think it improves all of the conferences, all of the sessions, all of the webinars throughout the year, because now there's a data set by which we can start to, or continue to, build our knowledge base.
It's a
Take
great
that for what
summation.
it's worth.
I want to interject something here before it,
Sure.
just in case we don't get any hate, because I don't want it ever to sound like I'm saying that any of the other association surveys don't provide an accurate representation, right? I submit, I fill out all my membership surveys, and there's a tremendous value there. I think that, like you said, though, having the ability to kind of step outside any one organization or one company,
one
discipline allows us a bit more of an objective ability to bridge that gap, because I think there are some really important similarities and differences. And while I never will expect collection agencies and law firms to always agree on the exact same way forward, I think that some of, removing operational things and looking at technologies that are developing, looking at new ways of transacting business, whether it's new payment portals, new leveraging of pre-existing technology, allows for us to provide a better universal picture.
I think that's exactly the point, right? I think every association has its discipline. Clearly, we've been intimately involved in the associations across the years, and I fully respect what it is that they're trying to accomplish. But I think being able to go cross-discipline, engage with more of the creditors and get more banks and others involved in this so that we can get a more holistic picture of receivables management and maybe not just kind of the more narrow focuses.
Agree.
So, gentlemen, I want to thank you for coming on and having a chat with me today. I think that there's a lot of work ahead of us. For those of you that are watching, I highly suggest that you go check out the survey, participate, become part of the solution in the data set that we're using going forward to better understand the world around us. But, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on today. I really do appreciate it.
Thanks for having us, Adam.
For those of you that are watching, if you have additional questions you'd like to ask us, you can leave those in the comments below, and we'll be responding to those on LinkedIn and YouTube. Or if you have additional topics you'd like to see us discuss, you can leave those below as well. And hopefully I can get these gentlemen to come back at least one more time to help me continue to create great content for a great industry. But until next time, everybody, thank you so much for your participation, and we'll talk to you again after the survey results have been compiled, analyzed, and the report has been established so that we get to come back and share some of the insights that we've learned with the industry. But thank you, everybody, for your time and attention. We'll see you all again soon.